Hey guys, my name is Avigat and in this video I'll be writing a Java program to input 10 numbers and find the number of positive integers, negative integers and the number of zeros using for loops. So let's start with the program. Okay, so here I've already written the basic format of every Java program. I've started with import java.util.scanner, then I've written class, then public static void main, followed by scanner s equals to new scanner because I'm going to be taking inputs from the user in this program. So the first thing I'm going to do is create my integer variables. The first variable I'll create is num and I'll store the user inputted value in this variable. Then I'll have to create three separate variables to count the number of positive integers, the number of negative integers and the number of zeros. So for the positive I'll just create a variable p, negative I'll create a variable n, and for the zero I'll create a variable z, and initially I'll give all of these a value of 0. Okay, so now that this is done, I will write my print statement to gather input from the user. So to do that, I'll just write system.out.println, and here I'll say enter 10 numbers. Now after every print statement we write num is equal to sc.nextInt to store those user inputted values within any variable, but in this case I'll be inputting 10 values, so I'll write that line within the for loop so that it repeatedly gets input from the user. Because if I do it outside the for loop, if I write num is equal to sc.nextInt outside the for loop, then I'll have to repeat the same print statement 10 times in order to get input. But rather than doing that, I'll just write it within the for loop to make life easier. Now after doing this, I'll just start writing the for loop. So to do that, I'll write for, and now I'll write the first statement of the for loop, which is initializing the variable. So I'll say int I is equal to 0. Then the second part of the for loop is to determine till when the for loop will run till. So I want 10 values from the user. So to do that, I'll just write I less than 10. So this for loop will run until i's value is 9. So the values will be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, which are 10 values. And lastly, I'll write I plus plus because I want i's value to increase up till 9. Then I'll write my curly braces. And the first thing I'll do within this for loop is write num is equal to sc.nextInt. Through this line, I'll be storing the 10 inputted values within this num variable over here, and then we'll be able to use that to write the code ahead. Now after doing this, I'll write my if condition. So if the first condition I'll write is to check if the number is a positive number. So if num greater than 0, then that means it's a positive number. So now I'll write my curly braces. Within this, I will increment this positive variable that I've created over here. So I'll say p plus plus. So whenever there's a positive integer, the value of p will increase. I'll just copy this and I'll write the same thing for the negative variable I've created. So else if, and if num less than 0, then I'll increment the negative variable. And lastly, if none of these conditions are met, then that means that the number is going to be 0. So I'll say else, and over here I'll write z plus plus. Okay, so now our for loop is done, and lastly I'll write the print statements to display these three variable values. So I'll say system.out.println. The first thing I'll do is display the positive integers. So I'll say positive plus p. Here I'm just adding the value of p to this positive text that I've written here. Then I'll just copy this. This time I'll do negative, then plus n, and lastly zeros, then plus z. Okay, so here our program is complete. Let me just compile this and let's check the output. Void main, here enter 10 numbers. Okay, so let me input 3 positive integers. So 1, 2, 3. Let me input 2 zeros, 1, 2, and let's input 5 negative integers. So here it shows that the positive integers are 3, negative are 5, and lastly zeros, there are only 2 zeros. So yeah, that is all for this video. If you want the code, it will be available on my website avigatgupta.com, so make sure you check it out. Other than that, if you have any questions, feel free to let me know in the comment section down below, and I'll try my best to answer them as soon as possible. And if you learned something new, please don't forget to like the video, subscribe to my channel, and see you later. Bye.